Okay.
All right, we are live.
Wonderful.
All righty, folks. We are now live on our channel. We have not used this channel in a while, so pretty
Over a
exciting.
year. Yeah.
Yep. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to our stream. We are going to be talking about programming today. So, sit back, relax, and get ready for the show. Taylor, how do I sound?
You sound good. And y'all, if you want to go get a snack or get your favorite drink, that's always great too, since of course it's New Year's Eve around here. So,
Yes. So, welcome. Happy New Year. And we're going to get you some good programming discussions. So, this is a live recording of a podcast. So, we will get started with that. I'm just going to do a quick sound test and we'll get going.
and if you want to join the discussion, you can chat with us on YouTube or you can also talk to us on Mastodon. Correct, Michael?
That's correct.
Yep. So, we love discussion, so don't be afraid to make your voice heard because we want to hear all angles. And while Michael's sounding the sound check, I want to ask a question in chat. What is your favorite programming language and why? I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking about because for me, of course, I have many, but you know, it all depends on what's popular. But I've always loved Python. I've actually done it for more than 9 years. So, yeah, put in the chat what are you loving about your favorite programming language, and also if you're watching afterwards, feel free to comment as well. We'd love to hear what you are loving in 2024. How are we doing,
Yes.
Michael?
We are almost there. Let me check
Okay.
one. I just feel like my microphone is kind of quiet at a distance, so I want to fix that up and we will get started.
It seems pretty good to me, but of course we are, I'm not at a distance. So I'm just across our house, and since we've done a live video, I can't remember, did we do a Techopolis video when I'm in Texas? I think we have. But we're actually
I
in a
think
new
so.
apartment. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we have. Okay, my microphone is at top volume, so okay, there we go. That should help. It's hard to look at the camera and be a good form in the microphone, so
I know.
I'm just trying to make a good balance there. So, okay, and let me get my recording going here in Zoom. That's important.
Sure is. We will be posting this, like I said, to a podcast. So Michael will talk about that. We have a podcast called Programmatic. Yeah, Programmatic. I keep confusing programming for everyone. But we have a podcast called Programmatic, and this is what we're going to be talking about today as a programmatic episode. So feel free to get this podcast in your favorite podcatcher.
Yep. Okay, so let's get this thing started and we're going to talk about code and trends and all those kind of things. So, um, all right, let's get started. All right, three, two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Programmatic. My name is Michael Dowies, and I'm here today with Taylor Arndt. Hi, Taylor.
Hey, Michael.
All right. Well, we are doing another one of these episodes. It's been a little while. It's the last day of 2023, and we figured we'd do a programmatic episode. It won't be a long episode, but I figured we should get together and talk about some things like what's going to be coming up next year? How is programming going to be changing? What are going to be some trends for next year? And how will that matter? And this is a very big topic to me because I feel like we're now at a point where things can change in programming. And the reason why I say that is because we have AI now. And AI can write a lot of code for us. And so there's no reason to write use the fastest way to get something done if AI can just do it for us. What do you think about that, Taylor?
Yeah, and when you mentioned I have seen AI coding assistants come up by the dozens every single day. I just learned about a new one today called AI Pilot, I think it's what it's called, and it can literally create the files for you, which is
Mm-hmm.
something I've never seen before. And so when Michael's talking about AI assistants are coming out by the dozens, and I think if you don't embrace them, you're going to be left behind in the new
Well,
AI revolution.
that's kind of subjective, but
It is.
it's a tool. It's a new tool for a programmer, right?
Right.
So you use what tools you can use in the toolbox.
Right, and it's
That's
very
the important thing to
efficient.
think about there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with AI, we have the ability to make code, to write code that we would not have normally had the time to write. We can have it refactor code. We can, do all these things that we just don't have the time to go and do. So one of the problems I think is people pick a language and they stick with it and they say, okay, I'm going to pick on JavaScript a lot today. And they say, okay, JavaScript is what works for everything. So let's just use it for everything. Well, is that the right way to go? Maybe, but maybe not. For instance, you can write an app that works on iOS and Android, but is that the best way to do it in JavaScript, right? Is JavaScript the best way to make everything work? And is Python the best way to make everything work? Is Swift the best way to make everything work? Is Java? No, it's learning what works the best for what you're doing. And I think next year we're going to see that it's easier than ever just to say, okay, I need to write this app and it needs to be cross platform. Well, I don't have to just stay with JavaScript or I don't have to stay with Python. I can actually write it in that native code using that AI. One of the coolest things that you can do, and I've done this a few times, is say, take this Swift code and convert it to Java for Android, and it will do that.
Yes, it will.
So you can create activities, you could create all kinds of things out of Swift UI views, you can convert to Jetpack Compose, all these things, and it's just that powerful. And you don't need to even worry about, what your knowledge is. If you can go and look and see what it did and make sure it runs, then you can make the tweaks and problem solve. It's not important anymore to learn 10 different programming languages. If you learn the fundamentals of a language, how to write an if statement, how to write a case, a switch, how to print something to the screen, how to do these things, then you know the fundamentals of how to write good code. And you could take that between languages. You know, it's like the difference between writing a function in um, Kotlin compared to Swift is the letter K. So it's func or func, so the letter C, and fun for Kotlin. So it's just what is the differences? How do you? They all do the same thing. You know, a lot of languages just assume you're going to return void, but you can still add a return type in those languages. So it really just does not matter, right? It does not
Mm-mm.
matter what the language is. You can just take what you know and convert it to that other language. Do you do this, Taylor?
Oh my gosh, I do it all the time. I'm trying to think of a good example. I think I had a application that I was looking at, and it was not in Python, which again is my language that I know the best. So I had ChatGPT. I said, "Hey, can you convert this code? I think it was in like, geez, I don't know. Oh, I think it was in like C sharp. Can you convert this to Python for me?" And it did a really good job.
Mm-hmm. So that's the key to this is you just don't know, right? You don't know what is possible until you try it. And I think that we're going to see that, apps are built with React Native, Svelte Native, all of these other libraries. But when does it really matter? Like, we what is the best way to write something? What provides the best user experience? And what is going to be the most maintenance to keep up with? Because these libraries continuously change and the operating systems change. And if you write closer to native code, then you don't have to worry about things changing as much.
Exactly.
Even wrappers like Beware and things like that are great because they wrap around native code, so the code can change and all they have to do is update how the wrapper wraps around that code. Uh, but it still depends on is are these things up to date, right? So it just your trends really the trends that are coming out are going to change, I think, because of AI. And even writing AI applications is going to be done a lot by AI.
Yep.
AI will soon be writing their own applications.
That's crazy to think about.
Yes, yes, it is. And AI will be able to improve on itself or on your own applications. I'm building an RSS reader that does everything through AI. It's being built by AI. My issue is I'm trying to figure out how I want to lay it out, and then AI is doing the rest.
I am building a to-do list, almost like Fantastical as an alternative, that will use AI natural language processing to be able to detect, for example, if I say New Year's party tonight, it will say whatever. Or if I say, get programmatic edited by Tuesday, it would say basically the programmatic edited by Tuesday is a title, as well
Yep.
as the due date is Tuesday. And it will also, in addition to that, give you pointers on like how to complete that task again using AI. So we're
Mm-hmm.
building apps that even use AI, and we're also looking at AI models that are up and coming.
Yep. And now there's even on-device LLMs that you can use. There's a app you could get for Mac and iOS called, I think it's called Private LLM or something like that.
I've never heard of
That
that one.
that does we have it. It's a $10 app. It's in the family plan, and you could try different LLMs. Different ones are better for different things. It's all done on your computer.
Huh.
It's of course best to well, you can only do it on a Mac. I don't think there's a Windows version. Um, you could download the same LLMs with Python and that kind of thing, but this provides a GUI for it. And
Interesting.
yeah, so there's some really cool use cases for, using offline uh, language models. And I think we're going to start to see more things go offline uh, next year to keep costs down. And I think we're going to start seeing that with code too. Less of a, more cost saving, more of a focus on local development, not as much in the cloud development. I think that if we, rely on-device databases that sync to off-device, then we have the ability to leverage cost saving ideas, which I think is going to be a big trend starting next year because data centers are expensive. Uh, Remote machines are expensive. And I think that if we can start seeing people use, because our computers have so much power already, our phones have so much power. If we can utilize that power for our own compute needs instead of having to send it all to a cloud that, takes up a lot of resources, that's where the power is going to be.
I wish we could download like GPT-4 on our device. I'm saying we can't now, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I did research about this, trust me, because I'm curious. Because I wish we could do that, but it's just so large. It's like it requires so much compute power. But how much compute power does it actually require? Like, why couldn't a high end machine do it? I mean, these are all questions that I've been pondering for the last week and a half.
Well, partly it is how much, not battery, how much uh, processing and how much space goes into the model itself,
Yeah,
right?
I guess that's a
How,
good point.
how could it fit on a local drive and then things like that. So it just
That's a good
depends,
point.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
there's
there's
like
several things that go into it.
GPT-2. Right, there's GPT-2 and other things that are on device, but it's like those aren't as good.
Mm-hmm.
But those could be good for like LLM for sorry, not LLM, natural language processing for like what I'm going to be doing. But still, I'd rather have the more awesome models of GPT-4 and even GPT-4 Turbo.
I'm kind of wondering. This is a topic for another podcast, but like weather prediction, what happens when we have these large models that we put weather data in? Will they work with that? That'll be interesting. That's an
Oh,
interesting topic.
that's interesting.
But as for programming trends, I think we're going to see people really kind of jumping off the JavaScript ship and looking at other ways to be profitable because, again, JavaScript's great, but it's not that end all be all that it was hoped to be. And there are other languages out there that are just as good. And I think that's what people and programmers really need to realize, that this stuff is out there. We just need to work with it. Python is a great language, but it's people say, that's that machine learning language. No, no, it can be
No, it's
used for
not.
much more than that. You
Uh-uh.
could build good applications, you could build websites, you could build database stuff. You can do as much with it as you can JavaScript. The native languages, Kotlin and Swift, you can do great stuff with those too. And, there's environments to add pretty much anything you want with them. It's just people have to get out of their comfort zones and go work with this stuff, because that's how you're going to learn and that's how you're going to really get the most out of these languages.
That's a good point, Michael. And, what I would say is we keep going back to this: find the right tool for the right job.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everything will work for everything else. And I think that is the biggest thing that we're going to realize in 2024 is that, JavaScript again has been great, but there are other alternatives and we just have to learn what is going to be the best, also the
Mm-hmm.
most cost savings.
Yeah, and I mean, think about how much is done to make JavaScript work on your project, right? How
A
much, how
lot.
much, how many layers goes between your JavaScript and your native calls to the operating system? Think about how all of that is done, and think about, okay, if I use Python with Beware, if I use some of these other frameworks, Flutter, if I use some of these other things, do I get a better experience than if I'm using JavaScript to do the same thing? And I think you'll find that it's going to be a very different experience. And we're going to be talking about this a lot more in the new year. We're going to do a lot more programmatic episodes, and we'll even do some tutorials. So it's going to be a great year for programmatic. We're coming back with this podcast, and it's part of the IAcast network now. So you can find it at programmaticpod.com. And we're also on the IAcast website, so you could check that out there. And we have a Discord server, Programming for Everyone. We have the IA Accessibility Community server, so you could join there and talk to people. And we're working on some great stuff for the podcast in the new year, so we hope that you join us on that journey. Taylor, do you have any thoughts like where do you think we're going to go in programming next year?
Well, like I was alluding to earlier, I think, when I made that statement about AI tools and all that other stuff, basically it's so efficient now, and that like I am able to code things that I never thought I would because I don't have the time, but because of AI I can do it. And so what I think is going to be a big thing is that we're going to be writing code, but we're also going to have AI write a lot of the code for us. What I see as our job as programmers is actually more of a QA person, making sure the code that AI writes is actually good, because sometimes AI can write bogus code that's absolutely garbage. And so I think that's the way that we're gonna go, is we're gonna kind of be a AI QA police, if you'd say. We're gonna, police the AI and make sure that it will write the code that we want. Where we might write some code by hand, but I don't really see that as a big part. Maybe some things, but we're also going to use different languages, and I see that, the whole right tool for the right job is going to be a more important thing. We're also going to be doing some other programming related things, like blockchain and other things. I've heard that's going to really make a good comeback. Not comeback, but a good presence next year. And just a bunch of other programming trends. I've watched a lot of these videos, and so I think we're kind of on point here about what the programming trends are, because there's so many of them, and it's like we have to figure out, what one is going to be your focus. And that's kind of something else too that I watched a video about yesterday, is that if somebody is going to be doing these programming trends and they're going to be getting on that bandwagon, it could be a good promotion opportunity if you're in a job situation where you're like a programmer and you want to learn some new languages, and you can just tell your manager, and they'd be very happy.
Yeah, so there's a lot that's going into this, and we'll be following it more and more. And we want to have a discussion. So you can, join our Discord servers. We'll link to those in the podcast, and we'll put them online on the YouTube channel. And we're going to bring back this Techopolis channel for all kinds of different content next year. And just stay tuned. It's going to be a great year for all of our content. And let's bring more programmers into the field. Let's make programming approachable, and I think that's very important. So yeah, so Taylor, thank you for being here on this episode. We will be back next year with new content for Programmatic. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. All right, we're going to take down the stream.